Over the years, you and I can agree that it's not everything we've read and we've remembered. From primary school to nursery school to even secondary school and to university, we read and we forget. And that's why a lot of us have stopped reading entirely. On today's episode, I'll be discussing my 4-step plan that has helped me read and remember lots of books I've read over the years. Like every other person, I don't like books from inception, but something happened at some point. I met up with somebody, a man, and he literally transformed my life with the ideas inculcated in my subconscious mind. Now let me break this down. So when I met this man, I did not like reading, right? I hated books. I did not like sitting down to read, to spend time to read. But with conversations I had with this man and with conversations we had over time, I noticed the first thing he started doing, he did not force me to read. So he did not go on to say, you must read, this is the kind of books you should read. He just started juggling my brain with books and stories over the years that would interest me, and consciously love to dig deep into those books and find out if the information he said was true. And that was how I got into reading books. And then into reading books, I'll definitely want to review things I've learned with him the next day or the next 2 days. And because of that, I had to find a way to remember everything I've read. This is leading us to step 1. Stop reading and then ask your mind. Now, the mind and the brain is like building blocks. You cannot just build from new things you've learned. You have to build on the foundation of thoughts you've had over time. So if I'm reading a book, immediately I read a paragraph or a page or a chapter, what I do is I close the book and then relate that thing I just read with a new topic. I relate what I just read with my previous thought process. So if I'm reading a book about the subconscious mind, after I read a chapter of that book, what I would do is I would review that book with what I've thought about before. So things I know about the subconscious mind, I begin to ask myself questions to relate that part of the book I've read with what I know before. So step 1, after every chapter, relate that chapter with what you know before about that particular topic. This is going to lead us to step number 2 towards remembering things you've read. Attach what you've read with emotions. Now, a lot of us have our favorite songs, which is very beautiful, and we could sing those songs for hours, right? But we cannot memorize or remember a chapter or a page of a book. An average song is 180 words, and an average page of a book is also 180 words, making it much more interesting for us to read and understand. But the point is, if we can sing our favorite song, which are made up of words, that means we should also be able to read or recite a page of a book. Now, the reason why you can sing a song and not memorize a page is because that song has emotions attached to it. So you can literally relate the emotions with how you're feeling with the words coming out. So every book you pick that would literally change your life has to have an emotional connection or an experiential connection with yourself. So if you're reading a book, attach that book with an experience you've had over time, or attach the lesson or the morals from that book with an experience or with an emotion over time. And trust me, same way you can sing a song, you will literally be able to memorize or remember everything you've read from that book. Step number 3, sleep after reading. This might sound very different from every other thing some YouTubers will tell you about reading. For you to transfer information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory, science have research and doctors have analyzed that most times what happens is from your conscious state to your subconscious state, it takes sleep for this to happen. We have various types of sleep. Maybe we'll do that on a separate video. But most times after I finish reading and I sleep, I found out that I'm able to regurgitate that information in my subconscious mind, right? And because I'm able to regurgitate that information in my subconscious mind, I'm able to remember vividly 95% of things I read. This is scientifically proven. For you to remember things you read, start reading. Don't involve yourself in extreme task, right? Ensure you sleep. Now, this is why they even tell us in schools and university, make sure you sleep after reading, because that causes a transmutation of information from your short-term memory, which is your conscious state, to your long-term memory, which is your subconscious state. And over time, you'd be able to remember the informations you've had or informations you've read. Step number 4. Step number 4 is my favorite step. Wake up and journal everything you've read. Now, this is very important, and this is because for you to remember, you must be able to task your brain, right? So that's why we have exams, that's why we have tests, and that's why we have to write down what we've learned. Why? Because learning involves bringing out, not just keeping. So for you to be able to remember anything you've read, and this is my personal experience, I'm able to wake up in the morning, and one of the first things I do is to journal what I've learned from the previous day, because I've been able to think about it, attach it with an emotion, and even sleep. Whenever I wake up, I have the broader understanding of what I've learned. This is a bonus tip. Talk to someone about it. So after reading a book or a passage or a text or whatever, try as much as possible to involve yourself in positive and productive discussions, like discussions about a topic, and then you would find out that because of the steps you've experienced, you're able to process this information even better. And there's a saying that when you teach, you also learn. This is very, very interesting. Before I pick any book, I try as much as possible to ask myself, what is the lesson I am going to take away from this book? Don't just pick any random book because you really want to read. It's good to make it interesting and to make yourself much more involved in that book. Look at the long term. What am I going to get from this book? Rather than looking at what the book would have to offer you for that present time. If you've stayed up to this time, I'm sure you've loved this video. These 4 steps has literally helped me remember over 80 to 95% of books I've read over the recent time. And I'm sure these steps will also help you. So hit the subscribe button, like this video if you can, and I will definitely see you in the next one.